Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Stream Miami tonight. Today, the weather here in Miami, it's really cozy. It's been raining a lot, and it's actually pouring right now by where I live. So it feels good. It feels good to have the rain hitting on the window and with a glass of wine. That sounds really cheesy, but it does feel good right now to be doing this at this moment. Thank you so much for tuning in. I want to ask you all to please share the video. When you share the video, you share the love of the stories of each entertainer that sits on this hot seat. I want to remind you all that this platform is there for whoever wants it, and it was created for all those entertainers during this time where not many of them are back to work. But because of your support, we have been able to keep this going and this interviews going and getting to know each one of them in a deeper level, having personal and in-depth conversations with each one of them. And it's been great. It's been a great experience, not only for me, but for many people out there who have reached out and expressed also their feelings. Tonight, I have a good friend of mine, who I'll be interviewing and getting to know on a deeper level. He's a Florida resident, a Miami native, actually, and I have a lot of respect and admiration for this person. But with further ado, let's get to the conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, Jose Vega. Hey, Jose.
Hey, how are you, Raul? How's everything?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. I want to thank you for letting me be on your show. You're doing such an amazing job, and there's so many people that are coming here, like you said, to tell their stories, and to be able to sit here with you and be able to talk to you means a lot to me. So thank you for letting me be here with you.
Thank you for accepting my invitation. And I know that the conversation that we're going to have, not only is it going to be really personal and in depth, but also it's also going to be a new thing because you've never really spoken about many of the things that we're going to speak about tonight.
No, I haven't actually.
So let's get to know you a little better, and let's hit our first segment with the Back to Basics. You ready?
Yes, ready.
There we go. So tell me, Jose, and tell everybody who's watching, who are you? Where were you born? What are you about? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? What's your favorite hobby? What are you doing now? Etc.
Okay, so my real name is Jose Vega. It's not a stage name, it's my real name. I am currently living here. My family's from Puerto Rico. My favorite color, it has turned into aqua. It used to be blue, but now it's kind of like aqua. I love to eat nachos. Anybody that knows me knows that I love to eat nachos. And I live in Hialeah Gardens, a very humble area that I live in. I grew up here. I've been living in the same home now for about 24 years with my mom. So that's a little bit about me.
Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have an older brother. He's 45.
So how have you been doing and coping with this situation of COVID-19? Are you doing well? Have you been able to keep employed or?
Well, I worked through the pandemic. I never stopped working. Something funny happened, something really weird. I was working for one company, and my position was no longer needed in my position, and I was without a job for about maybe 2 weeks, and then I started working for another company. So I pretty much have worked through the pandemic. So I don't know what it's like to stay at home and not have a job. I'm blessed for that, but I do know what it feels like to go out into the streets and go to work and be terrified that you're gonna bring something home, especially since I have a mom that's older. My mom is up there, and she's in that list of the people that should stay home. So that was one of my main concerns. But now that I've been working, thank God I've been able to survive on my own, with my mom, and be able to take care of the things that I need to take care of.
That's good to hear. It's definitely a blessing, especially during this time when so many people are just trying to make ends meet. And that's the reason why this platform was created. I've always said it. I said every day, to remind people that it was because of that, to try to elevate each other's characters, not only as entertainers, but as people, So that's what we're going to try to do today, right? And I want to start getting deeper into our conversation. and start getting personal. You ready about for
Okay.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
ready. Here we go.
let's dive deep. So you're the youngest of two.
Yeah,
You mentioned you have an older brother. In
I do.
fact, you were not planned by your parents. You came as a surprise. Your older brother suffered a fall when he was just a month old, and it impaired him, impaired his brain to, um, and he lost many of his functional abilities. He was admitted into an assisted home facility at the age of 7, where he has been for the past 38 years. He just turned 45 this past March. You are very close to him and you're very protective of your brother. Can you tell me how has your brother influenced your life?
Well, my brother is something that I don't like to talk about, and that's why today I'm kind of like taking little baby steps and doing this. A lot of people that know me, but they don't know me, if you know what I mean. Like they don't know the other side of the coin. Um, my brother has been an inspiration in a way where even though he can't think for himself and he can't do for himself, um, he has inspired me to be a go getter, to do better, to think bigger, to realize that the little you shouldn't be complaining in life. Life is so short, and we are all so blessed to have so many opportunities day to day. Just to breathe is a blessing, and looking at my brother and seeing what he's been through helps me understand that I'm in a good place, and that it's just a blessing just to be able to be alive and to be able to spend time with my family. He's just inspired me to be better and to be a go-getter and to work harder at the things that I do. You know what I mean? For him, because in the end, it's all for him.
You're able to you actually visit him often, and you spend a lot of time with him when you can. Actually throughout the years he's been able to go out to places and enjoy certain things and things like that, correct?
Yeah, he lives in an assisted home, so we go to see him at least once a week on Sundays. Obviously, I'm the breadwinner in the house, so I can't go as much as I would like to. And now with the pandemic, it got harder. So we couldn't even be there for his birthday this year. And my mom was really upset because she's always there for his birthday, and we weren't able to go. So we had to do everything through pictures and through video cams and stuff. And it was at that moment that it made me realize the really important things in my life. There's a lot of things that I've taken for granted, and that moment, it made me realize that, you know, like I said before, complaints, we can complain all day, but we have to always remember, go back to our roots and remember the basic and the most important things, which is family. So, if anything, this pandemic has brought the family more closer together than ever.
You've always been a lover of the stage. You've always loved performing and singing on stage, and your dad was very active in your early childhood when it came to your showmanship. As a matter of fact, because of his support, you actually landed a spot when you were a child in Sábado Gigante, which is a great and very well known, legendary show for the Latin community around the world,
Yeah.
with hosted by Don Francisco. However, your parents separated when you were 14, and that stopped. That route, that you were going as a showman, that your dad kind of pushed towards, that stopped, and it changed. And so did the relationship that you have with your father. You resented him for a lot of years because of how he treated your mother, and because he was absent throughout the main stages of your life. How is the relationship with your father now?
It's different. I can't say that it's the perfect relationship. Like you said, he used to take me everywhere, and I would lean on him for everything. He was the perfect stage dad, and my mom was always just standing on the side, just making sure that everything was okay. But he was like the main guy, and he wanted me to be the biggest star in the world because I loved to sing, and ever since I was little, I sang, and he wanted to take me everywhere. But when my parents broke up, that was the end of that. I had no one to lean on. My mom was by herself. the story changes because now you have one parent that's struggling on their own, and those dreams have to be put on hold.
Have you ever
So
expressed this resentment that you had towards him at any time?
you know what? It's something that we haven't talked about, and I think it's long overdue. Um, he knows, and I know. Like when we see each other, we have like you can feel that 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 um that discussion in the air that's needed to be had, but none of us have taken the initiative. I think he's maybe embarrassed, and I think I'm still a little hard headed and a little mad and upset at everything that happened. But only now that I'm an adult, I can understand that it wasn't my fault. It was something that happened between my parents, and I need to let that go and stop blaming him for the failure of their marriage. I think that's the resentment that I have. So
Do you
when
think
I
that you go ahead?
no when I start letting that go, I think it'll be easier for me to have that conversation.
Oh, but you're planning to have it. You think you will have it.
Yeah, it's coming, and like I said before, this pandemic has made me realize a lot of things, and it has reminded me that the most important thing is family. And I have a lot of friends that have lost actually their fathers during this pandemic, and they've told me you need to talk to him because you don't know how long he's going to be here, and if something happens to him, you're going to regret it. Now's the time. So
So going back to the time that you were a child, you did mention that your mom had to maintain the household, on her own, and she had to provide not only for you, but also for your brother. So your lifestyle changed, and school became a little problematic. Can you explain to me a little bit how this period of time was for you?
well, in school, like I said before, I really liked being doing shows. That's what I would did for such a long time. And when my father left the picture and I was left without nothing, I was left with that craving inside of me, kind of like that. Well, what do I do now? And school was the place where I had a class with drama and I had a class with music, which were my favorite subjects. I excelled in those classes. But when it came to like English or math, I would act up in class. I would get in trouble for, really crazy, stupid things. And I was just craving attention at that time. It was a time where I was craving attention and I ended up in detention many times. Good kid, bad choices. Looking for attention in the wrong places. If you can understand that.
And
And that
why?
got me in trouble.
Why do you think there was this a call? What type of attention is it that you needed, and that you were craving for, and you did not get?
I think the attention that I was looking for was for that maybe that love or that perfect storm that was going on in my house. I was trying to find a place where I can go and be accepted and fit in. I mean, it wasn't just in the classroom where I acted up. It was also like trying to figure out what group to fit in, trying to find out if some people liked me or some didn't. I really didn't care who I was going to be with. I just wanted to be somewhere with someone.
Do you
And I
think
think
this?
it all stems from that.
Do you think this plays a role currently in your life? Like sometimes you realize that you do things just to call attention because you're still lacking that, or that's something that you were able to overcome.
Oh, definitely. Definitely was able to overcome that with years. I mean, after I left middle school and I went to high school, it was a whole different ballgame. My life changed because you and me share something in common, which is our faith. And I was able to start meet a friend that guided me towards church, and all of that just changed dramatically in my life.
Let's talk about that. This friend that he invited you to a church youth group, correct? And eventually you became an active member of this church and of this youth group. And you said to me, um, you said, this was a time that was great for me. I felt like I had a place. What did you mean by that?
Well, when I went to church, again, I was in a broken home. My mom was working. I didn't have any communication with my father. Here's my brother living in a school. So I found myself in a place where in middle school, I needed attention. And then once I got to church, I realized that the attention that I was looking for was just basic love. Like the attention of someone saying, "Hey, how are you?" or having a conversation with me, or really just asking me how I felt. And church is the perfect place for that. little did I know that I would find strangers that would open their arms and just let me know that I was loved and that I was worthy, and the more I read the Bible and the more I went to youth groups and I started singing in the band and I started meeting people, I realized that the attention that I was craving was I had it right in front of me the whole time, which is the love of God.
What role does faith play in your life today? Is this something that you're still active with? What role does faith play in your life?
To be honest, I don't go to church as much as I would like to. And back in those days, I used to pray a lot because I wanted my mom to come to church with me. And everything is reversed now. Now she goes to church, my church, the one that I used to go to, Small World. She's in a prayer group. They pray every night. And now she prays every night so that I can come back to my roots, so that I can come back to church. She tells me, just come with me one Sunday. So it's kind of, in a way, a beautiful thing that I used to pray so much that I wanted my mom one day to be so into the religion, and now she's in it. So I guess God answers those prayers in his divine time.
You had mentioned that you never were really aware that you were gay when you were even in your early teen years and as a child. It never really dawned to you. You never really felt any different, and maybe you thought that people could see you as different, but you never really thought about this or felt any kind of way. It was an experience, like some kind of bromance that you had in this youth group with a guy that kind of made you start thinking. So tell me briefly about that.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. We were at church, and like you said, I probably was gay from the moment I was born, but I really never even thought about it, because back then it wasn't something that was up for discussion, or it wasn't something that people would say. But in church, I did have a friend, and we went. We had many friends, actually, and as you know, in church they put the girls with the girls and the boys with the boys. It's part of being in a youth group. And we were on a field trip, and I ended up being partnered with this young man, and there was something about him that made me attracted, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And I even at some point started dressing like him. I can't even tell you. It was like a bromance type of thing. Like, it was crazy, and then I would want to hang out with him afterwards, and he would be like, "Yo, no, 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 I don't. We're not friends." And I just didn't get it at that moment. But that's when I started realizing, wait, there's something up here.
What was that moment that you realized for real, like, okay, so this is it, like that this is who I am? What was that moment?
Well, maybe a year and a half after that, maybe two, I there was many scenarios, but I met someone on a chat, and that was my first real encounter with a guy, and that was when I said, wait, there's something going on here. And after that, I was invited to a gay club with a girlfriend of mine named Carla. I was about 18 years old, and my first gay club was Splash. I'm sure you remember Splash.
Oh, yes, I do.
I was 17 years old, 17, 18. I was 17, because I remember I was 17 because I couldn't get in. And I remember getting there, and the guy at the door said, "You know what? You can't get in." The guy's name was Freddie. I'm sure everybody remembers Freddie. He was really built. His boyfriend was bald. I can't remember his boyfriend's name. But he told me, "Listen, you can't come in." It was a girls' night, and I sat outside while Carla went in. I was like, "Just go in. I'll wait out here, whatever." Um, and while I was sitting in the parking lot waiting, here comes this beautiful, what looked to me was an amazing-looking woman that smelled good, looked good, with an entourage of guys. One guy was carrying her suitcase. The other guy was carrying a head with the hair on, which now I know is a wig. And she stops and she says, "Hey." And I'm like, "Hey." And she's like, "What are you doing out here?" And I'm like, "Well, they won't let me in. I'm underage." She's like, "Give me a second." She went in. Oh, by the way, her name is Erica Norell. For those of you who wonder who she was, it was Erica. She went in, and then her entourage went in. She comes out, and she goes, "I can get you in, but you got to stay with me." and she put a wristband on me. She walked me in, and the rest is history. I got to go into my first gay club, and it was very interesting because it was a lot of girls that night. So I didn't get like the full shablam of all these guys around, but it was my first time seeing girls on girls. I was like, whoa, what's this? And being in a dressing room with guys that looked like girls, it was just all new to me. So yeah.
You had actually you had dated uh when you were like 15, 14, 15 years old. You had a girlfriend for like
I
three
did.
years.
Yes.
So at this moment you were still, you were interested in girls, but you were trying to explore also that side that
I thought
attracted
I was
you.
interested in
Yeah.
girls. I
So
thought
then I know that you developed a crush on Erica Norell, a big one.
I did. I
Yes.
did. And
So
for a long time, a lot of people have kikied, and it used to bother me. It used to bother me a lot because I was like, oh my God, like maybe I shouldn't talk about this. Maybe this is forbidden. But now it's kind of like an inside joke with us, and it got a little intense because I remember her lover at the time, Ralph, even called one time and told me, you can't hang out with my lover anymore because I was going to the salon and visiting her a lot. I had a crush, and it's okay to feel like that. She was my first real cute little crush when I was gay, and why not? I mean, look how beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, why not?
yeah, she is a beauty. One of your favorite spots was Splash. For everybody that's watching, Splash was a very popular gay club in right here in South Miami, and it was extremely popular. It was one of the first clubs where Erica Norel started performing, and a lot of the local Miami queens performed there, and it was just
And
a
it
great.
was the first club where I met you.
Yeah, so
That
tell me
first
about
time
what
when you
other
came to New
memories.
York.
What other memories do you have besides the Erica anecdote? What other memories stand out from
I
those
re-
Flash days?
Oh my God, the first time I met you at the tea dance, everybody that's watching, if you know, on Sundays, I think it was at 3 o'clock, the tea dance, and daytime. And here comes strolling down Miss Vegas, Dion, and everybody was like, oh, she's from New York. She's new with this. You had this big afro type hair. You were really, really skinny, I remember. And the first time I ever saw him perform, he did the song Joy. And I was like, okay, and you did death drops on the stage, and
Okay,
from
let's
that
move on.
moment on, it
Let's
was.
let's try to move on from the details of all of that into some other memories. Any others other than that one?
Well, and anybody that used to go to Splash remembers Julie Mastrosimone. She used to be the hostess of Noche Latina, and of course there were girls like Paloma. I remember seeing Paloma there. When we were talking the other day, Judy Too Much. Remember Judy Too Much? And just so many. Who else? Champagne. Just there's so many girls that I met there that I didn't know, but I just remember because I was just new to the scene.
You got everybody riled up on these comments here. You got Theo saying, "Oh my God, LOL," and then Scott saying, "Not Vegas doing death drops." Christopher Imano, he wants to move on now. Let's move on. So let's not talk about Splash Days anymore, and let's get to a serious subject because this sometimes, even though it's serious for everyone, coming out story. For you, it had a very different. Um, it was a very different experience because it dictated and it changed your life. It began as a simple confession to your mother, and it ended up changing the way that you looked at life, the way that you lived life. So this is really the in-depth part of your story. Tell me how you came out to your mother.
Well, like I said before, my parents divorced, so my mom became the breadwinner of the house. I was just graduated from high school, and I was going through all this in my head, and I had started to visit clubs and date, and I I didn't know how to tell her. She was a very strict mom. At least I thought, in my mind, that it wasn't going to be tolerated. she always, and I had just dated a girl, and the plans were for me to marry this girl, and didn't happen. So, I did end up dating a guy, and the guy ended up breaking my heart. Obviously, he was a closet case. And the night that he dumped me, I decided, you know what? I was so hurt and so confused about everything. I said, this is the perfect moment to just. I was in my feelings. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. And what worse can happen, you know? So I came to my house. There was like a little party going on, and I waited till everybody left, and then I waited till my mom went upstairs. I went right behind her and said, "Listen, I gotta talk to you. I gotta tell you something." And my eyes were red, and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I I kind of I think I like boys." And she looked at me. She's like, "Oh, okay. Is that it? You look like I thought you were gonna tell me that you stole money or that you were doing drugs or something." I'm like, "No, that's pretty much it." And she was like, "Okay." And that was the end. I was like, "Okay." She took it well, and that was the end of the conversation. The very next day, um, she went off to work. But before she went off to work, she got up in a really bad mood, and I wanted to talk to her. I'm like, "What's wrong with you? Like, is everything okay?" She's like, "No, this is not the way it's supposed to be. You're my son. Your brother is mentally handicapped, and you are my son, and you need to give me grandchildren." And I was like, "Okay, well, what do you want me to do?" So it was very hard for me to understand at that moment why she was talking to me that way, but she made it very clear that it wasn't going to be tolerated. And we got into a huge fight, and she said, "Well, you know what? If something happens to me, you're going to have to live with this." And I slammed my door, and she left. Um, that day, she never came home. And the very next day, I left to work. While I was at work, I got the phone call that she had been in a car accident. She had been ejected from her car, and she had been pronounced dead on the scene. Um, a helicopter had to come, pick her up, revive her in the hospital. And when I actually got to the hospital and I saw her in ICU, connected with all those machines, the doctors told me, your mom is lucky. She was hit by a drunk driver, and she was ejected from the car, and she landed on the other side of the road. But we're doing the best that we can. The only thing connecting her body to her head is her muscles. Her entire vertebrae was shattered. So they had to go into emergency surgery, and I had to sign those papers. It was the longest 12 hours of my life, because at that moment, all I could think about it was that it was my fault, and that me coming out to her was what caused this whole accident. And it changed my life forever. It's made me a different person, because of what happened. I want to say that I am the person that I am. I used to be so different from what I am today, and her accident just made me realize that the real reason for me being here is to take care of her, to be there for her, to be more understanding in life, to have patience, to be a go-getter. I get my go-getter from her. She raised us that way, to never give up and to always move forward and to work hard for what you have. And I think that molded me into the person that I am today.
This was a very difficult time, not only for you, because you felt guilt, about this situation, and um, also it was tough for her because she couldn't be herself anymore. She had to learn again how to walk. She was chained to a wheelchair for a long time, and it was traumatic, for both of you to just try to put everything inside and just keep going, trying to get through this without talking about everything else. So how do you live your life and keep going? And when there's this big obstacle in your life that's just that changed it and halted you to be there. In 2014, you competed for Mr. Florida Continental, and I remember that during question and answer, category, Nikki Adams asked you, if there's one thing you could change about your life right now, what would it be and why? And your mom was there. She was in a wheelchair. What was your answer?
Um, when Nikki Adams asked me that question, I got chills all over my body, and the perfect answer was to look straight at her, to look into her eyes, and know that she was sitting there so proud. Um, and I said, if I could change one thing, it would be to have my mom be able to be the woman that she used to be. She is a much better woman because of the accident. The accident only made her better. I didn't know that at that time, but I know it now. Only with time you get to see, and she might have scars and she might have um, a lot of pain, but it has just made her such a better human being and such a stronger woman because she got out of that wheelchair. She proved the doctors wrong. And being able to see that and experience that as a son has motivated me to push and to do things that I don't want to complain about and that I know I can do. So she is my biggest inspiration.
That's beautiful to hear. And I'm sure that she is glad and very happy to have a son like you that has been able to, you know, not only take care of her, but just be with her. I want to ask you the same thing today, Jose. In the place that you are now, as an adult, and during this time right now, if there's one thing that you could change about your life today, what would it be and why?
If there was one thing that I could change about my life right now, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but I've already done it. I started doing it. I changed this, and I know it's gonna sound like it's like I'm saying it over and over again, but this pandemic has really changed my mind in a lot of things, and I was lacking when it came to family and friends. I was lacking, and today I can say that I pick up the phone and I make the effort to call people, my friends, my close friends, and I make time for my family. I got so consumed with work and I got so consumed in this world of pageantry that in competition that I forgot the basics. And I am very grateful because I'm embracing my family now, my friends, and I'm remembering that without a base you have nothing. And I'm grateful for that. And that's what I've changed. Being more grounded.
Who is Scott Holland to you?
Scott is he's a pain in the butt sometimes, and I'm sure you know this, but I'm gonna get you in trouble. Scott is like a big brother. I have a big brother, but Scott is kind of like that big brother that is always telling you don't do this, and when he tells you something, you kind of want to like brush it off, but you kind of don't because he's right at the end of the day. He's a mentor. He's like a father to most of us. I'm not gonna say his age, but that's what it is.
If he's listening to this, he's gonna curse you out at the end of the show.
He's like a father, and he's like, well, he's the first. If it wasn't for him, I would have never gotten into pageantry. He was the first person that got me into pageantry, and I've learned so much through him and with him by my side.
I'm gonna share with the viewers. Scott Holland currently is one of the owners of the Mr. and Miss Florida pageantry system. But he is the founder of Mr. Noche Latina, it's a local pageant that was founded in 2003, 2003 or four. It started in
2003.
2004 with you
Mhm.
as Mister. And he's like that friend. He's one of my best friends, and he's that friend that. Where the hell did you go?
I'm right here.
But we can't see you.
Let me see.
Oh, there you go. You fixed it. Yeah.
Okay.
So he is that friend that tells you the cruel truth, whether you like it or not. We all have that friend. He is
Yeah.
that friend to at least to me and to Jose. He's gonna tell it to you like it is. So I asked Scott the same thing, and this is what he had to say about you.
Oh
In
boy.
2004, I decided I would produce a boy pageant since there were none in South Florida. On the day of the inaugural Mr. Noche Latina, Jose showed up to registration. This was his very first pageant, and not only did he win, but a friendship started that got stronger every year. Now, 16 years later, he is part of my family, and we have probably spent thousands of hours on the phone talking pageantry, relationships, and life. I am very proud of his accomplishments, and I am looking forward to all the fabulous things he will accomplish in the future.
You know,
Oh, that was so nice. It's true.
you and I,
Thousands of hours on the phone through talking about pageantry. Yes.
telling you what the hell not to do, and then you still go do it anyway.
Yes.
You and I
Even
have known each other for a very long time. We've known each
yes.
other. We're not gonna say how long, but it's been a very long time. We have a lot of history,
Yes.
and we also share a lot of the local titles. We are both former Mr. Noche Latina, Mr. Stonewall, Mr. Pub, Azúcar, Discoteca, and we're both Mr. Well, I'm the current reigning. I'm the current Mr. Florida. You're the first. Many years ago, Gloria Klein mentioned to me that before being a king or a queen anywhere else, you had to be a king or a queen in your hometown. And that was, I really held that close to my heart. It did something to me, and that's exactly what I did. I feel that this is what you have done as well. You sparked male pageantry in South Florida when there wasn't any. This was really on you, and you did it very well, building relationships and creating memories, which has also became your motto. You were chosen to be the first Mr. Florida and the face of the pageant. What does that mean to you?
Well, first of all, I've always wanted to. I guess this goes back to what I was talking about before. I've always just wanted to fit in and feel like I belong and feel like I'm worthy. Um, and that's, I guess, along the way, without even knowing it, that's what I've been trying to do. And pageantry has helped me make a lot of connections, make a lot of friends. Um, and ironically, it's through pageantry also that I learned that um, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay for people not to like you. You can't please everybody. Not everybody's gonna love you. Um, but to be chosen to be the face of Mr. Florida for me was amazing. Not only because it's my hometown, but it you know my one of my best friends, Allison Thomas, is the main promoter, and
She's the
to have
CEO,
her,
honey. She's not a promoter. She's the CEO.
the CEO. Well, you know what I mean, the main promoter, the CEO. To have her give me that honor was just amazing. It was an amazing gift, and it was a confirmation that I at some point I did something right, and I I was flattered, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm actually the face of something. Um, but that's the way I've always looked at things. I've never really thought that I'm better or worse. I just want to be in the group. I want to be standing there next to everybody, and be noticed. That's all.
Let's hear some words from Alison Thomas herself about you.
Hi, Jose. I so enjoyed our multiple journeys to Chicago, and you're representing me in my preliminaries in Mr. Continental. I'm proud that you were crowned the first Mr. Florida ME and that you're the face of the pageant. I'm honored that you call me Mama Bear and you consider me a mentor, a friend, family, and an advisor in your daily life. I love when we share a stage, and our duets hold great memories of a true friendship. We've laughed together, we've cried together, we've traveled together, we've done so much, and I so look forward to continuing our legacy. Remember, he lives in you.
That's an inside joke from Tommy Ross that we tell each other all the time.
I'm gonna pick up the pace, baby, because I already have half my glass of wine, and when I get to this point, then it gets juicy. So how about we get to some real talk? Because we learned about you. It's been a little downtime here, but let's pick up the pace, baby. Let's move on to the next segment. But before we do, I need to have my local queen moment of the week, and I'm sure Joel is watching. Probably not Christian, but maybe he is. And it's sponsored by them too, Joel and Christian from Local Queen Merch. Now, here's how to enter. Number one, you follow Local Queen Merch and Stream Miami on Facebook. You tag hashtag Local Queen Moment on the lives, videos and pictures of your favorite queens, and you can tag as many as you want. And then immediately you and your queen will be entered to win a $50 tip. The winners will be announced here every Thursday during the month of June. And this is from the solidarity of Local Queen Merch, Joel and Christian, who are always thriving and helping the community in every single way they can. These are just lovely people.
I love Joel. I have so many memories of Joel. I competed with him when you're a Continental, and we were backstage and we were like holding hands and we're like, who do you think won? And he's like, I don't know. Who do you think won? He's just so amazing. He's very charming.
He's very amazing. He's amazing, and so is Christian. They both are great. So let's talk about Continental since you brought it up.
Oh boy. As he drinks some wine.
Gotta take that sip, baby, because it's a lot of tea. So you have competed for Mr. Continental 8 wonderful times.
Yes.
Once landing a spot in the top 5. You have called this pageant your biggest and your ultimate dream. Girl, let me put this away because I'm already feeling my oats. Why does this contest mean so much to you, child?
Okay, so like you said before, the first national prelim I ever did was Florida Continental. And I went to Chicago right after I won, did not know what the hell I was doing, like a deer in headlights in 2004. I was there standing on stage with Christopher Iman, Antoine Steele. I mean, you name it. Everybody was there. That year, Ray Matthews was stepping down. Oh my God, there I go. So it was my first trip there. And to be honest with you, I took the same package that I presented in Florida, but I didn't even, I think I was young and I had so much fun. I was just so excited to be there. I really didn't get it. But the minute I lost, because that year they didn't do a top. They just did the 13th. And whoever got placed in the top walked up and answered the question. And it wasn't until I lost that I was like, wait a minute. I didn't like that. I was like, I want to come back here. Like, I want to get the attention that he's getting. And that year, Antonio Edwards won. He won with Erica Andrews. So I was like, I want that attention. I kind of like this. And then I came back to Florida and I started doing more pageants and more shows. And I started getting myself, getting my hands dirty and starting to do more local bar pageants and all that stuff. And that's how I got like that fever. But the main thing that attracted me about Continental was it was kind of like graduating from high school. Like everybody there was like, it was kind of like walking between people that had doctor degrees and master degrees. Like everybody was so polished, and the guys, the suits were like on point, and everybody talked great and everybody looked a certain way. And it was kind of like going to the Oscars. And knowing me that when I was little, I never got to be that star, I was like, well, I kind of like this. It reminded me of that hunger that I had when I was a little kid and I was being taken to all these places. And I finally got to be on a stage where I remember I was when I was little and it was taken away. So Continental became to me like that dream that reignited that I never had when I was a kid, that was kind of paused. And I want to say that's why I really go back every time, because there's nothing like a Continental audience. They will cheer for you if they like you, and they will let you know if they don't like you. And that's the best school that you can ever have, because they're not just going to clap if you do something bad. And it's because of those things that happen to you while you're there. It makes you either, it breaks you or it makes you, you know?
You haven't been to Black Universe, have you?
I have not. I'm
Well, there you
terrified.
go. You
it's,
should
it's,
be.
it's quite, I've heard it's
Baby,
intense.
that audience, it's the tea. I appreciate the Black Universe audience because it's exactly that. They will give you what you deserve. And it's cruel and sometimes raw, but it's just the plain truth. Last time you competed at Continental was 2 years ago. I was there. And you do not make the top 12. You were extremely disappointed. You were upset. You were very sad. And you actually left the theater right away, and you did not participate in absolutely any activities during the whole Continental weekend. You didn't even go to see the Miss pageant. But you showed up at the Baton the next day after we crowned up Miss Continental on Tuesday night, and you won the first preliminary and qualified for the following year. What made you do that?
I'm going to be honest, and I might get in trouble for this, and maybe I won't, but I was at the Parkway. I was at the big theater for rehearsals. I was there because, you know, the person that was my partner at the time had rehearsals, and so I was able to get in and go and see the rehearsals. And I was outside, and I was actually talking to Sassy Divine outside, and we were talking whatever. And then in comes Jim with Christoph and, you know, the little entourage. And Jim says, Jose. And I'm like, hey, Jim, how are you? And he's like, I thought you were gone. They told me you had left the city. And I was like, no, why would I leave the city? He just grabbed me and hugged me. And he says, oh, my God, I thought you were so upset and mad at everybody. You know how much we love you. And
This
I'm like,
this was after the Mr. contest. You know,
yes.
You talk about rehearsals for the girls.
Yes. And he really thought that I had left, and he hugged me and he said, you know, you got to keep coming, Jose. I know this is your dream and we love you. And one day, you know, you just got to bring the right package. Talk to Christoph. And he just zoomed in because, you know, rehearsals were about to start and he couldn't be late. And then Christoph pulls me to the side and he said, listen, we're having a pageant on Monday. It's the first freedom of the year. We don't have any boys competing. We would like to make you the honorary. And I showed up and they crowned me that night. And that was the end of that. And I said, I'm going to give it one more try.
But then you didn't show up the following year. What happened?
You know, a lot happens in a minute. A lot happens in a day. A lot happens in a year. Me and Christoph were in constant communication throughout the whole year. I started working for Amazon, which everybody knows. And I landed a huge position with corporate. And I was traveling a lot. And at that moment, I needed to go with my security. And I needed to go with what was really, really important to my family at that moment. And I sat down and I talked to my mom and I said, what do I do? Like this, I love Continental. I already qualified. Like I'm gonna look like an idiot. And she said, Jose, you know, you've worked so hard for this and you finally got a position with one of the biggest companies. You know, you gotta call them and talk to them. And that's exactly what I did. I called Jim, I called Christoph, we talked about it and everything was good.
Do you have any plans on going back to Continental?
I want to when the time is right.
The time's not right now?
Not right now, especially with this pandemic. But Continental's in my heart. Everybody, it's not a secret. Everybody knows. And you know, it's funny that you asked me that question because there's been many a times that I've been places and people have told me, what year did you win? And I'm like, I've never won. And they're like, oh, I thought that you had won. So sometimes I feel like I've already won. I don't know if that makes any sense to you because it's not just about winning the title and being called Mr. Continental. It's about the years that I've been there. It's about the friends that I've created. It's about the family that I'm part of. It's about the memories that I've created. It's about all those things together. That's the win for me, not just having the sash and the trophy. The win is being able to call Jim whenever I want to and him answering the phone. The win is being able to just have been able to create that friendship with Ginger and Erica Andrews and so many people that are not here. That's the win for me. Being able to go there, being able to hug the promoters and all of that is the win for me, you know.
I'm
But yeah,
glad you feel that way, baby, because not for me. I want my statue. I want to win, period. Are there any other pageants that you want to do next?
um, not right now. No, that's I think Continental is the only pageant that I want to do. I mean, Continental was the only pageant that I ever wanted to do. Um, and I ended up going to AAG, and I won that. And it was like a blessing in disguise, you know, because Continental prepared me for my reign for AAG.
Let's talk about AG for a moment, because I'm really proud of the work that you did as All-American Gent. You were exceptional. You had a great achievements in numbers of contestants, and you actually created very new preliminaries. It was a very great year for you. You did a great in the administrative aspect, and giving kind of like a face to the pageant. You know, that's how I remember it. What was the best and the worst part of your reign as All-American Gent?
The best part of All American Gent for me was being able to be myself throughout the reign. Everything that I did, it's almost like Scott Gagne, which is the owner. It's almost like I would just lay out everything for him, and it came to a point where he didn't even second guess what I would do. I would tell him I'm releasing a promo, and he would say, "Go for it." Like I would send it to him because obviously, out of respect, that's what you do. But there were a lot of ideas and a lot of things that I did that he was like, "Go ahead," you know. Like you said, we started out with 4 prelims. When I stepped down, we had 15, and we had a contestant for every prelim there. We only had one contestant that didn't show up, so we had 14 guys. But it was like I said before, if it weren't for Continental, I wouldn't have been able to do the work that I did for AAG. And if there was the worst part of AAG that I can remember, I think the worst part was the end of it all. Like I cried like a baby on that step down because here I am standing in front of a room full of people, something that I gave birth to. I feel like I gave birth to it, and now I have to give it to someone else. It's almost like giving up your child. And I was so fearful and so nervous that what I had created, someone else was going to take and not give it or nurture it the way that I did. But I think we all go through that when we step down and we really, really care about a system. We want the best for it. And we can only hope that, it survives and it goes on to be better than what you handed it in.
You dated a good friend of mine, Rolly Villaverde. I've actually known Rolly for about 12 years. He came into the nightclub circuit as my dancer, actually, discoteca many years ago. He's now a former Pride of Florida. We have that brotherhood together, and he's a former Entertainer of the Year. He's a dancer and a choreographer to the stars of pageantry across the nation with his company, Rolling with the Finest. And after 8 years, you both ended the relationship and separated. What impact, whether it be positive or negative, did your relationship with Rolly have in your life?
It had a very positive impact in my life. Before I met Rolly, I had friends, but I didn't have a best friend. And Rolly showed me what it is to have a best friend. We became best friends. And that is something that no one will ever offer me that I can think of in that way. I will always have a lot of friends. But the friendship that we had, the best friendship that I've ever had with anybody was with him. And I miss that every day, and it's a positive thing in my life. And it reminds me that there are good people out there and that you can't have a best friend,
Yes, you can. I did it for somebody, for a very long time before I got married. And when that ended, even though I knew that that was the best thing for me, I did miss that as well. However, never say never, because then I found someone amazing that is more than my best friend. and now my husband. So Rolly is a great guy, and so are you. So I wish you both the best, and I hope that this, whatever interim or whatever troubles or whatever, anything that you guys went through can be um, just that, left alone, and then evolve into that same friendship that you guys, both created with each other. So are you single now?
I am single, very single, and I have a new dog. Her name is Ruby. She takes up most of my time because my dog passed away during the pandemic as well. So Ruby has just filled in that void and that empty space in my heart. And, I used to look at all these guys with these dogs walking around, and I'm like, what's going on here? Like, and now I get it. Like, a dog, it's true what they say, dogs are a man's best friend. And this dog is inseparable with me. And, the time that I'm spending with my mom, the time that I get to spend with my brother, the friends that I'm reigniting friendships with, that all of that is what I'm doing with my time right now. Just working on me. You can never stop trying to find out who you are. Like I'm really in a deeper level trying to figure out who I am. Um, and that's what I'm doing right now. Just having a good time being me and being on my own and not having to like get ready for a pageant. It's saving me a lot of money.
Raul, who did you find that's so amazing? I want to meet him. That is my husband, everybody. He carries my last name. That is my husband asking that question because he wants to be petty. And he loves attention. So there you go. That's Jason asking what it is. So if anybody had ever a question who my husband was, then that's him.
I haven't met him yet. Have I met him? Yeah, I have. Briefly.
Yeah, briefly you have. This is a time for our viewers to just ask any questions that you might have for Jose Vega. If you have any questions, this is the time to ask them. I have 2 more questions for you, Jose, because we're running out of time.
Okay.
What is next for you?
What is next for me? Are you talking with reference to pageantry or just in general life?
Girl, give me everything.
Everything?
Give me the dirt. Give me about pageantry. Well, we heard about pageantry. You said that there's no pageants about now that you want to do, that, your dream is continental and you will get back to it eventually, but this is not the time yet. So we know about the pageantry. So what's next for you in your life? What's next for you? What do you have in your mind? I don't know. What do you see yourself doing?
So I'm working for a company now that I have possibilities of relocating and traveling a lot. I would love to relocate, but with my mom's health, I can't. So I'll travel with it a little bit. And right now we're renovating the house. We're remodeling it because we want to rent it out, and I want to get a bigger house for my mom. This house is a 2-story house, and going up and down the stairs is not in her favor anymore. She's getting older. So I want to get a new house. I'd like to have a new car maybe by the end of the year. And I want to travel. When this pandemic is over, my dream has always been to go to Australia. So that's something that I have high up there in the list. And I just want to save a lot of money and just do those things, my family thing, take care of me, travel. And then when I've done that, then I'll get back to the entertainment world and go back to pageantry. Will always be there. It's not going anywhere. It's only getting better.
Let's get to the next segment, our last segment of the evening, People's Choice. So if you have any questions for Jose Vega, please write them down right now. He's going to answer your questions. So are you ready? Let's go. So I think you kind of answered this already, but let's see. What is the first thing you look forward to doing after the pandemic, like right away?
The first thing that I'm excited to do is to travel. I didn't travel for like a year before the pandemic. I want to go to Puerto Rico actually and visit my family. So that's the first thing that I want to do. Go see my family in Puerto Rico.
I want to ask you, because there ain't nobody asking you nothing, baby. You just spill all your tea, and then they got it all, baby. They got everything. Here goes. I was gonna ask that question. Who are your male inspirations in entertainment? Do you look up to anybody? Any male entertainer that you look up to?
I do. There's 2 of them, but I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with the one that's I love. I've always loved Ricky Martin. Like that's someone that I just think that he's well rounded. He's a father. He's gay. He's an entertainer. He sings. He looks good. He has a husband that's to die for. But when it comes to our scene, the person that inspires me and that I kind of we share the same values is Khalil Valentino, which you just had him in your show.
I know
You
it
know,
was amazing.
after Khalil Valentino reigned, I was so amazed and I was so inspired, and I still am. You know, Khalil has done such amazing work behind the scenes. He only won Mr. Continental once, and he's been able to carry that through and not have to rely on anything else. And I just think that's amazing.
I think my inspiration in male pageantry, male entertainment, I don't think that person even knows that I look up to him the way that I do. I don't really think he knows, but that's my interview. That's not yours. So what was your best talent you think you have done at Continental?
The mariachi, and I'll tell you why. I've done a lot of talents before the mariachi and after. And the mariachi, when every time I watch that video, and this is true, I've seen a lot of interviews that you've done with the girls and the boys that have been to Continental, and it's true what everybody says. When you go to Continental and you do a talent that truly represents who you are and what you've come to the table with, that's when you excel. And that year, that was the essence of who I am. Like this is something that I've always done since I was little. Sing with the mariachi, sing in Spanish. I was in my and a lot of people told me don't sing in Spanish. They're not gonna like it at Continental. Baby, I went in there and I sang with the mariachi. I couldn't get any more Spanish than that. I just threw in a little bit of English just to be politically correct. And they loved it. As a matter of fact, Skip told me, "Why did you sing in English? You should just kept going in Spanish." And I was like, "Well, I didn't, but I was that year I was right behind Khalil in talent, and it just proved to me that just be yourself. They're not looking for anything. They don't know what they're looking for until you bring it to the stage."
That's the year that you made top 5.
Yes, I was
What
second runner.
motivates you?
What motivates me?
Yes.
Uh, you know what motivates me? My faith in God. Um, I've just began this amazing journey and this amazing hunger to want to have a better relationship with God. We all have our own way of believing and we all have our own relationships, but I'm really hungry. And I've been thinking about just looking for a church, a church that can celebrate me as a gay male and can see my vision and my faith. And that's something that I'm trying to look into, and that's something that motivates me day to day. So I want to add that into my life. I want to add that relationship into my life with God.
What's your favorite category when competing in pageantry?
My favorite category is interview.
Really?
I love interview. Yes. I love the interview setting when you're in a room with other people competing. Because it's more competitive. You get to talk, you get to say what's on your mind.
Tasha Long asks, one thing you can't live without.
One thing that I can't live without. It would have to be my business life, my work life. Like I'm a worker. Like I cannot stay at home and not have something to do. Like I've been working since I was 15, and I need to know that I'm making money to take care of my family and to take care of myself. That's one thing that I cannot live without. I have to have my my job, my how do I even put it? Like a way to make a living. I have to, even if it's working at a restaurant or it's working in a big stage in Las Vegas. Like I need to have like a 9 to 5, or I need to know that I have a 40-hour week ahead of me. That I can't live without.
Khalil Valentino makes a comment. Jose is one of those who I consider to be one of the best in this industry. He's so smart, so talented. I love him. Thank you, Khalil.
Coming from Khalil, that means a lot because For me, it's always been about, I've never really tried to be the best. I've just tried to stand next to everybody else. And like, it all goes back to the same point from the beginning. I've always just wanted to fit in and be a part of, and once I'm in there, if I can do something to help out, that's what I'm here to do, and I love to share the stage with everybody, and I'm always looking for an excuse or a way to be a part of something, even if I'm not the best dancer, or even if I don't have the best body. I'm just that guy that wants to be in the middle of it all and be a part of something. And that's the way I've always tried to be wherever I go and whatever system I'm part of, just to make people feel that way too. Because there's a lot of people out there that they don't feel like they're part of, and that's the legacy that I want to leave.
That
Whatever.
I want to ask one more question. This comes from Cassandra Hilton. What advice would you give to up and coming male entertainers?
To always stay true to who you are. You don't need a fancy name. You don't need all those rhinestones. You don't need to be part of a drag family. You can stand on your own 2 feet and be just as good as anybody else. There's a lot of people out there that feel like, oh, if I'm called this, I'm gonna be better, or if I wear this, I'm gonna be better. It comes from here. It comes from the heart, and I can be honest about it, because that's the way I've always portrayed myself, and I've always tried to be. I'm very well aware that I'm not 100% when it comes to being on stage, but when it comes to me opening this mouth and saying what I have to say, it always comes from the heart. It comes from a good place. And I think that's what's gotten me so far in this industry, just the purity and the honesty of wanting to help people and genuinely being there for everybody and being part of something. So I would just say to them, just stay away from the drama, and be true to who you are, and don't let anybody change your heart. Have a strong heart.
That's the best advice that you could give anybody. I want to make a little hiatus here because I want to talk about Sunny Delight's live feed hair sale. She has it Saturdays at 1 p.m. She is doing fabulous work on these hats, baby. And if you have not catch any of them, any of these live feeds, you need to, and make sure you support her. Or if not, recommend her work to somebody else. But she does really extremely well work. On Thursdays and next week, starting Thursdays and Fridays, we have Tasha Long. Back to Drag is tomorrow, baby. Thursday at 9 p.m. And she promises that she's going to give you hardcore, beat down on the floor, tears, scream, and pull out wigs kind of drag. Jennifer Holiday kind of shit. So make sure you tune in
Yes.
tomorrow, Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern time for Tasha Long. But right after this show, Chevelle Brooks in the Boom Boom Room. I think tonight she has Kenya Black, if I'm not mistaken. And she has a great interview with her, and she's just really great at what she does. I just love Chevelle and how she does it, and what she does. But I'm excited also to see Portia Paris doing a number.
Ooh, I love Portia.
Yes, I love Portia. Doing a number at the Boom Boom Room tonight. So it should be really good. And they have an after show afterwards with Nicole Love Dupree and Trinity and some other people that.
This is better than going to the club. You don't even have to leave your house.
Yes, baby. I'm telling you, it's the gig. It is the gig. I want to thank you, Jose, for accepting my invitation, for opening up your heart, for sharing so much personal stuff with us today, for getting to know you a little deeper. Having this personal conversation with you has enlightened us into who you are, into what your dreams are, and hopefully, not only I, but everybody else could see the truth in your story and appreciate it for what you had to offer. So I really do thank you for this.
Thank you for inviting me, and just thank you. Like, this is an amazing platform that you're giving everybody, and as someone that's watching you from the outside, I'm very, very proud of how far you've come in the little bit of time that you've been in the industry. And I can't think of anybody else that's gone from one extreme to the other and has been able to do some of the things that you've already done in such short time. So congratulations on your journey. and I'm really glad that we were able to have this talk, because I don't think anybody else could have pulled it out of me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your words, and I appreciate who you are. I really truly do. So I wish you the best, not only with your family, but with your business side and your work and your career right now, and also in your future endeavors as conquering your big time dream as Mr. Continental. But we'll talk soon, my friend. Thank you so much.
All right.
I thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. Please meet me tomorrow right here at 9 o'clock with Barbara Herr. This lady, if you don't know her, you need to get to know her. And if you don't know who Barbara Herr is, baby, you missing it. This is a legendary artist who has been in this industry for 40 plus years, and you're gonna get to hear from her side of the story and everything else. She has no filter. She just tells it like it is. So tomorrow we meet here at 8 o'clock with Barbara Herr. But right after this live, please check out on Facebook Live Chevelle Brooks in the Boom Boom Room. It's gonna be worth it. Trust me. For tonight, thank you so much for joining me for a different kind of talk, and good night.